What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of Bogey Free. It is Masters Week. We are being brought to you by FTN Bets. You can find me on Twitter over at Matt Jones CFR, and I am being joined tonight by Axis, who you can find on Twitter at Axis_DFS. What's up?
Hey, man, it's Masters Week. I mean,
it is.
We're coming off the first LPGA major, which was a great success. And we're rolling that right into the first men's major of the year at none other than the Masters and Augusta National. I mean, it's a great time. Great time for golf. I mean, Tiger's back. There's a lot going on, so looking forward to it.
It was I was glad that I caught your Discord alert for the LPGA. That was a nice little bonus. That I don't
never hurts getting a 14-1 live winner, right?
Yeah, I never. I'm not as on top of things as I should be in tourney. So that was just a nice, pleasant surprise that I actually caught it and it actually worked.
Yeah, you got to go. Yeah, that's a third live LPGA winner we've hit this year. So hopefully we can carry that into a full-blown winner here at the Masters when all these odds have just been ballooned. It's been wild.
All over the place. I don't know. It's been interesting watching the board. You know, obviously these odds come out a heck of a lot earlier than the typical week, and then it just seems like everything has shifted and moved, not always in a particular direction, like sometimes in multiple directions.
I don't know if you saw Hatton on FanDuel opened at 75. I got a message last night from someone who was like, "Oh, well, he's at 95." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like what is happening?" And then this morning I logged back on before I did Mean Streets, and he's at 55. I was like, I mean, I don't know what they're doing over there at FanDuel, if they're just trying to like fish for 2 hours to get more. I don't know. Like they did that at the Players too. It's very FanDuel specific. It seemed like they really put lines out to get people to bet their outrights compared to the other books. Maybe that's their ploy. Maybe they figure out all this square money's coming in. If I can just make sure everybody, if we get that, like we want these squares who watch 5 events a year. I mean, hey, we'll try to take advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is interesting watching, just seeing how people talk about this week. I know personally I've gotten more random DMs from people that I don't typically interact with Masters questions. I got plenty of texts from high school, college friends asking me who I'm betting this week, and that I don't really particularly talk to that often. So it is just funny seeing. We know that obviously the Masters is super popular, but even like people that I didn't even know would like think to bet on golf are texting and DMing asking if I have any any strong feelings about anybody. Everybody comes out of the woodwork, and then I won't hear from them until at least until I guess the US Open or whatever.
Yeah, PGA now. Yeah, but people forget about the PGA sometimes. So anyway, it's just awesome. Like there's so many markets available because it's the Masters. I mean, I put 2 more props up in the picks a little earlier for top Englishman and top rest of the world, which, some of those markets we get, but they're not as eclectic all the time or have as many options, or once again, the odds just seem slightly longer than normal. I mean, there's so many head-to-heads out there. Like it's just a wonderful time of year to be a golf fan, better. And that's why we're here, right? So if you want to get into it, I mean, Augusta National, there's not a lot to say that hasn't been said, to be quite honest. But we'll do our best, right? It's unique in a sense that it's the only major that has the same course every year. It's pristine when you see it on TV. Like you got the fake bird noise or real, whatever you want. It's glorious.
It's definitely fake.
Yeah, and the shot behind 12 is just iconic. Playing roughly 7,500 yards has been a big deal about some changes they made. We'll see how that affects it, especially on Number 11, I believe, is historically the hardest hole relative to par on the course. They made some changes there with the fairway, perhaps a new alley. So I'm curious to see that. There's a different runoff area as well I was reading about. So there's all these things, right? And obviously we know distance helps here mainly, and it's an advantage, right? Because there's no rough. There's hardly any rough. So just stay out of the pine straw forest, pine straw ground, deep forest, you'll be okay. Wide fairways, lots of fairway. So that leads to an advantage from distance, obviously. But then the irons, 60% green regulation here. Going to be a lot of chips here. And all we hear about is the tight lies, the slopes, the undulations. Like, take a drink. You're drunk already from all that. So, we're going to hear it. But it's important, right? Again, we have seen this course over and over and over and over and over. So I don't want to say it's exactly a secret, but the golfers are all vocal about how long it sometimes takes to figure out.
Yeah, for sure. It is it is the only week where and I don't even pay attention necessarily to success at the course. Just like I actually just put in like the number of rounds that a golfer has played into the model this week. It could be just they've played 6 rounds, they've missed 3 cuts, but that's maybe a little bit more beneficial than, only playing once. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, I think everybody kind of has a pretty good feel for the course. Again, even casual people that don't necessarily watch every week will recognize, the signature holes and remember different highlights from years past. So it is always fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite weeks for sure. So let's slide our way over. You teased a couple of nationality props here. What are we working with? Anything here?
Yeah. So yeah, well, the one I'll give away, it's been in there for enough. I don't know what it's currently at. It probably hasn't moved. I don't think the prop markets move quite as much, but the one of the two I'll talk about is Joaquin Niemann. He's 12-1 on DraftKings for top rest of the world. Off the top of my head, I don't remember who is all in that, but it's basically every non-European and non-American. And I'm on Niemann 65-1 as well for the outright. But when I ran this, it was just another, obviously things tend to correlate where I like a guy across multiple markets. So you have to be careful sometimes of how much action you're getting on these individuals. When you're making these multiple bets, you don't want to have, like, if Niemann misses the cut or something, I don't want my entire week to be ruined. But the 12-1 was just really hard to pass up. I just really like how he's playing, right? We hit him at Genesis for a lovely victory. And I made a comment then about his around the green game. Historically, hadn't been very strong, but he had been doing well up until that point in 2022. Right. He continued that week. He gained over a stroke around the greens at Riviera, which a lot of people love to use as a comp course to Augusta as well. Like, distance is an advantage. The rough there isn't as penal as far as there is rough, but the difference between fairway to rough, the undulations, all that fun stuff. If you want to use that as a comp course, Niemann's played well there, has the victory this year, and he's continued to gain around the green in the next 2 events he played after that as well. Nothing wild. I don't have strokes gained from Austin Country Club, but he played okay. It wasn't great there, but the ball striking's still there, and it all just fit perfectly. So I liked him outright, and then I ran that. Another option, another chance to get down where a guy doesn't even necessarily have to win, because it might be hard for someone to envision someone like Niemann winning, which is fair, I guess, even though I think he's a very good golfer. But he doesn't have to win, right? Like, this is better than if he gets inside the top 5, he doesn't have to deal with Rahm. He doesn't have to deal with JT. I just really like that bet, 12-1.
Yeah. And that's still there for people watching or theoretically listening. Like you said, I don't think that they move those a ton, unless there's just a situation where, something just gets absolutely hammered and they don't want any of that risk, any more of that risk. The only like bugaboo that I really am seeing in that group would obviously be the inclusion of the Australians there with Cam Smith too. That's
correct.
That's the scary one above him. I'm not really particularly scared about anybody else that's shorter than him or at his price in that group. So I like that quite a bit as well. So I know we've been a little wishy-washy on the matchups. You have any matchups for us? I know we've been treading lightly. We've been needing a bigger threshold, right?
Yeah, I just haven't seen the reason to kind of force it at the moment. Like I still see some edges. The market seems to move with me normally, but and it's not me moving it. Let me be clear. So I feel good about like that's a good trend to see.
Yeah.
Obviously they haven't really been panning out, so I'm still tracking them. However, like the positional wagers are still that's like been the bread and butter this year. So I feel no reason. Like I still run the matchups. It's unfortunate. I do have one. I don't really love it though, and it's because I'm very bullish on Cam Smith. So I did take him at versus Rom at plus 128 at FanDuel, which I'm probably not going to see move against me. That's almost a certainty. I understand that. Like I said, I don't necessarily uber strong. Like I think I put 0.75 of a unit on it. So I do think they're very similar right now. I'm not trying to project that Cam Smith long-term is going to be the best golfer in the world, although he has shown the capability to do so. Heavily predicated on his outstanding short game. But he's talked about trying to improve the distance still. The iron play is good. Like he has the tools. John Rahm's just done it for so long. I have them rated similar enough, obviously, to where I ran the Sims. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to bet it. I'm going to trust the number on that one. But it's not like I didn't bet Cam Smith outright. I've hit 2 of his winners this year. I feel like I've had a decent pulse on how he's playing. I mean, at least maybe I'm encapsulating how he's doing. But again, when so much is weighted on the short game, there is a little fear sometimes. However, at Augusta National, if you want to be perhaps the best around green player in the world, it's not a bad place to use that skill.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you there. I didn't catch that one before, but I would I might have to log on to FanDuel here shortly and take a peek.
I would wait and see if it moves, just judging on the market. I've seen that larger. I forget where, but like I said, it's not. It wasn't warm and fuzzy when I saw some other places open up. It's like, all right, well, you don't get them all to move your way, and I figured I wouldn't. I've been habitually ahead on Cam Smith this year. It's worked out so far. This is one matchup. If he doesn't win, I'll be fine. But yeah,
I don't hate Scheffler over Rahm either at plus 115 right now. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, I think I'd still favor Rahm there. That's tough. Like I said, I ran everything, and that was really the only one where I was like, well, I kind of need to back up my own what I've been doing and what I've been saying. And that's not the only reason I bet it, but that was one of the ones that just stood out just because of how I have them rated almost equal. So I don't know. It's tough, right? Especially so at the Masters, there's the top 50 in the world. So a lot of these head-to-heads, you're betting against other really good golfers. And I think that's sometimes mentally hard to get over, even for someone like me I'm just a number cruncher for the most part, putting them in. It's a lot easier when I'm betting against, other random golfers in the 150-man field that sometimes aren't even in the top 100 in the world. Now, granted, I'm betting on a guy who's probably not either. But I guess that mental trigger sometimes is harder to pull, like when you're finding these edges against other perceived best golfers in the world. And it's like, well, sure. Again, John Rahm might even beat him 52% of the time or whatever, but it's just, fine tooth comb through some of these things. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's sort of reflected in the odds, just scrolling through the tourney matchups. Like I would say 80+% of them are like minus 115 is like the favorite. Like we're not talking about, like minus 175s and stuff hanging around. So.
Yeah, I swear if I were to go back through the history, we don't need to discuss this too much, but there used to be a lot more matchups offered as far as between golfers who are a little more dissimilar. And I mean, books are probably getting hammered on it. And maybe that's why they're looking for matchups that are pretty well close to 50-50 now. I mean,
Right.
I used to bet so many underdogs when I first started doing matchups. And I one, there's hardly any available. And two, even when there are, I rarely am finding much value on it. It's like that's where they take all their vig from almost, is they chop the dog. And it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll just move on and we'll go another week without matchups. I'm not going to force it though. Like I said, other things are clicking, other things are working. There's a lot more markets now where that doesn't necessarily have to be a bulk of the action anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Let's you want to tackle some of these some narratives that we have floating around this week? Anything particularly egregious that you've noticed in the zeitgeist?
So I guess what I'll say on that is, I mean, there's egregious things, sure, but I'm sure some things I say people find egregious as well. My issue with narratives and trends isn't the fact that people use them. Some of them might even have a foundation of truth to them. All I normally ask is like when people throw them out is like, well, have you thought about why? Why is that a narrative? Why is that a trend? Like, can you destruct it even just a little bit? And like, oh, well, guys playing their first Masters don't win. They haven't done it since 1979. Yes, that is very true. That's a fact. Hasn't happened since 1979. But when you think about how you qualify for the Masters, you have to win any PGA event or be in the top 50 in the world at a couple different points throughout the year, or be a past champion, right? So if you're a past champion, you're probably a pretty good golfer in your time, but it's really about the first time. So these guys are getting in, maybe winning the Sanderson or some of these weaker field events when they're younger. So they're not necessarily at their peak the first time they play the Masters. And then you have Sam Burns this week, who is making his first appearance. He's ranked number 11 in the world. Whatever you think of the ranking system or not, it's not perfect, but it's definitely a solid recent judge of how a guy has played, or at least finished over the last year and a half or so. They decay their weightings, but he's number 11 in the world. He's won on the PGA Tour 3 times now, and making his debut. And I haven't dug through, but I have to imagine he's got to be one of the highest ranked golfers ever to make a Masters debut, and probably the most wins to make a Masters debut would be my guess. So I'd be, when people say things and like they look at Burns, who I actually bet at 50-1, and it's like, well, first timers don't win. It's like, well, most first timers aren't probably built like Sam Burns is currently playing in his pedigree, right? So I don't know. It's like everything. Just take it with a grain of salt and try to deconstruct as to why, and perhaps you can find the outliers or guys who might not fit a narrative or a trend that you actually do think could be a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously tracks. It is very easy to, just sort of throw up like past results and look for, all of the last 4 out of 5, last 9 out of 10 trends that you can find. And it makes for content, that's for sure. But like you said, there's typically a reason for it. It's the same thing with like, we have, we prefer guys that have experience here, but again, like guys that have experience here, they also are good enough to continue to qualify for the Masters. Correct. Which is like kind of a sign that they're halfway decent golfers. It's not just like, it's not an accident that they're, making their 5th start at the Masters and then they figure it out. Like they're also improving throughout the arc of their career, and they're gonna be good if they keep and
that's the flip side of the debut narrative, right? Like, of course it does make sense also. Like that's why you got to deconstruct, though. It does make sense because we have seen that experience has appeared to have helped here, obviously. Like, I mean, And guys are vocal about it. They talk about like, yeah, I'm more comfortable here. I remember chipping it here 2 years ago and it rolled back to my feet. I'm not going to
Yeah.
do that again. Things like that. Like I'm sure Molinari or whatever has learned on 12. You know what? I'm not going to go for that flag on Sunday. Like I'm going to do what Tiger did. I'm going to put it 25, 30 feet away in the middle of the green, and I'm going to take my par and I'm going to move on. That's not a place that I need to chase a birdie. And when you're leading, let me rephrase that. There's other opportunities you might have to, but you get my point. So that stuff all goes into that narrative. But again, when you try to destruct maybe why these things exist, you can find people like Burns who might not necessarily fit it. So please don't just blindly. It doesn't appear people are going to. People are probably going to use Burns. I've seen him bet. I'm sure he'll be popular in DFS. People are learning. I mean, it's a sharper and sharper field. You did your studies showing that overall the field makes pretty solid lineups. So in DFS anyway, and we see winners every week. Like it's not necessarily this giant trick to be the only person doing this. You just have to sometimes critically think to save some money too, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, and they're just real quick. Like we're not going to dive into the DFS stuff. If anybody's interested, the musings pieces over the past week or so all have to do with game theory in DFS, and they're all free. So even if you're not a sub, you can still click through. I have a thread running on my Twitter, but those mega chalk guys that like just routinely do well, even in the lower price ranges, are the guy like betting cards that go around on Twitter are driving ownership also. It's not just DFS content, right? So like it's just like, yeah, those guys are gonna catch ownership because everybody's betting them. Every DFS guy is talking about them. So like we've gotten better. 4 years ago when I did this study, it was not that. It was not that the mega chalk was just always better. So it was interesting. Honestly, it was eye-opening for me because like, yeah, you can say whatever, like ownership is getting more efficient, but like it's quantified and it's like absolutely like the top, the very tippy top guys are performing significant like standard deviations better than the guys in the middle. But all those guys in the middle in basically every price range, like just flip a coin. Like there's no, if you avoid the not owned guys and you eat some chalk with the mega chalk guys and you differentiate in that middle group, that's the game.
Right. And you can still be different, as you just mentioned. You can find ways to do it. And it kind of goes with the betting too. And I think that's another reason it's just harder and harder to find some value, especially in the head-to-heads. Like when I first started posting head-to-heads, there was nothing. So not many people were even doing it. And so everybody gets better. The markets get sharper. You just have to find a way to adjust. And on a week like this, when they're trying to get you and entice you, you can do that. So I think you bet Hatton as well. Am I correct?
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. So like he's a perfect example to me. He opened at 75. I bet him at 75. I love how he's been playing. I understand that his history here is a little so-so, but that doesn't matter. I mean, Patrick Reed, before he won, he went cut 22nd, 46th in the cut, I do believe. And then he won. Yeah. So, but he had those 4 years, and who's to say exactly how they were playing those particular years either. So that's another whole thing to get into. But Hatton's been playing extremely well this year. He consensus opened at like 45-1. You don't even have to have a model to see that he's literally 45-1, basically every book. Doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter if you think it's a square or a sharp book. Literally every book opens in the same place. They're not really making their lines anyway. They're getting them. And then he's 75 at FanDuel. Like that is the most basic. You can call it a model even. You're pulling in numbers way to bet. And I had him at, I think I made him 38 or whatever I had him at earlier. Like, it's just nuts. And then he moved to 95. So, and then you go look at it like, all right, he finished T9 at the Dell match play, whatever position in the ladder. That was 21st at Valspar, 13th at the Players, 2nd at Arnold Palmer, which we've seen him do well there before. He played pretty well over in Europe, Saudi Arabia, and he did finish T18 in his last Masters. So perhaps, this will be his 6th one, I believe. So I thought there was a lot to like there, and it was just astounding to me where he opened on FanDuel in particular. I ran my numbers before the books reshuffled. And was like, oh, Hatton's someone I'm going to have to check because I'm around 35 to 38. It felt like he could be 42, 45, small edge, maybe, we're talking small percentages, but fire on Hatton. So to get the 75, I felt like that was a gift. I may not be able to redeem that gift, but I will take it every week.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly can't be understated, like percentage wise, how big of a difference 4,500 to 9,500 is.
Yeah,
like in anything, but like just I don't know if you can find discrepancies like that, and you're just adding up, a percentage and a half implied probability or whatever it ends up, maybe a little bit less. What's 4,500, like 2.2
couldn't tell it on my head.
Still it's like it's like 2.25 ish, right? And then like 9,500 is basically like 1%. So yeah, you're more than doubling your implied probability there. You're not going to see that very often.
And honestly, if you go to ftnbets.com, it's a free tool. You can use the prop shop. It's if you go to the top of the site, it's under the tools icon. It's called prop shop. It's free. You can pick whatever state you live in, and you can search Tyrrell Hatton or whoever else you want to bet, and it pulls it all up right there for you. Like, you don't even necessarily, it's not extra work for you. You don't need to know how to scrape. You don't need to know how to do anything. It's at ftnbets.com. It's a wonderful tool, and I use it all the time. Like, it saves me time too. I run the model, like, all right, I'm probably going to like these guys, and you can easily just go there and make sure, like, there's nothing better you can start doing than getting the best number. So that's a wonderful free tool to use.
Yeah, no, that's the best, because it's just, you understand why people don't line shop as much as they should when you spend so much time line shopping. So
I'm not denying it's annoying. It can be, but that tool makes it so much easier, and you can use it for any sport. It's not even golf specific. I mean, most people who bet golf bet other sports, so you should still be using it. There's just so much out there to improve before you even begin to dive even deeper, right? So if we're attempting to help you do.
Yeah, if you're just playing the line shopping game, I mean, it's it's not like a guarantee that you're gonna be successful, especially in an outright market where
correct,
we're talking about a percentage to 2.5% or whatever. But that being said, if you get into that habit and you're doing that across every market that you bet in, you are for sure going to find enough discrepancies to make your make yourself much more likely to be profitable. If you run into bad luck and you're not sizing correctly and you're making mistakes that way, that's a different conversation. But if you're doing all the other things correct, you should absolutely be line shopping. And now it's so easy. Like, even if you have, even if you only have like 3 books, if they're not from the same provider, you can find those discrepancies. So that's always important. All right, we would be remiss if we did not discuss Tiger Woods. What the hell are we doing with Tiger Woods?
So I guess when you I said this to Chris Meany earlier, like, if I remove myself as a fan, which is the first step to making a decent wager for me, remove myself from being a fan of Tiger, you listen to the press conference, because that's all I have. I mean, I know he played at the PNC. Okay, cool, whatever. That means nothing to me, except for the fact, well, that's a lie. He was moving. He was playing golf. That's what that meant to me. It didn't really matter what he shot, I should say. And then you see the press conference where they ask him, like, can you win? And he said, yeah, or I think I can. And he's like, I can hit any golf shot I need. No pain, nothing. It's the walking. So what that says to me is he doesn't fully know how he will become a Sunday. Okay, that's fine. But the fact that he says he can hit all the shots, he has all his knowledge and history here. He knows how to play this course as good as anybody, better than anyone in this field. yeah, I think modeling was difficult. However, even if you just make him an average golfer and then you give him a quarter to a third of a stroke around for his knowledge, I don't know. It's probably even more than that, but like you also have to take away the physical. This is just me spitballing on air. I feel like to make the cut was like minus 122, 125 in a model, something like that, which is about where he's at in the market now. And you can find him 70 to 1 at PointsBet if you would like to take that risk. I mean, $10 for me on Tiger Woods to win at 70 to 1 and sleep peacefully if he shocks the world again. I mean, every time we count him out, he comes back and figures it out and does it and shows you, and like, here I am, I did it again. Do I think he's going to win this week? No, of course not. But I don't think a lot of guys are going to win this week. And one of them probably will, unfortunately. So realistically, I'm optimistic. I don't think he's here to shoot an 82 and be like, okay, that was fun. Like, that's why I came here, just to get out in the sun. Like, no, I think he's only here because he thinks he's so competitive. I can't imagine he'd want to show up and just be like, well, I think the best I can do is 80, but I just wanted to show everyone that I can do it. No, like, he's here because he thinks he can compete. So yes, I think he'll make the cut. What happens over the weekend really depends on how physically able he is. But if he's truly able to physically walk this and have it not affect him too much, I don't see why he can't. I don't know, maybe not be in the mix. Although, again, like, do I really want to count out this guy? No, not really. It's kind of scary to think about. So I think maybe if you really want to throw some action on, I mean, you can search around. I'm sure there's tons of boosts out there. Make the cut minus 110, 120. If you want to have some fun, it's not going on my picks board, but like I said, if you want to throw $10, 71 on PointsBet, or someone's giving you free money and you don't know how to use it and it's expiring, I'm sure as a golf fan, there are way worse ways to spend that. So yeah, that's kind of the short run on Tiger Woods in my mind. Like, as a fan, I'm stoked. I'll be watching every shot.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. I have Bet Rivers, and they had his first score on his first hole, par or not. So I said no par, just in case he's a little rusty. But I did bet on him to make the cut. I don't really feel terrible
for that.
I think it was minus 120.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I ran in the model. I think I gave him a third of a stroke, or 0.3 strokes, and I think it came out to like minus 123 or something, with everything else run. And I was like, all right, that seems fair. If he truly can hit shots, he's not affected by it. I have nothing else to go off of. So, right. I mean, that felt fair to me.
And like, it's important that when we're talking about making the cut for the Masters, like, we're talking about a very small field. And
I think it's like 55% this year will make it. I think there's 91 guys and 50. They got rid of the top 10 stuff.
Right. So even so, like, you can chop off, like, a half dozen. Right. Like, you can chop off a half dozen of the old guys, basically. And then, that percentage shoots up again. So, you know what I mean? Like, right. Making the cut is not like a huge bar to clear. And like you said, he's not making this trip for pageantry. Like, no, I don't necessarily think he's going to just come out firing and blow the field away. But if the accident didn't happen, he probably isn't doing that anymore either. So, like, I don't know, like, make the cut seems pretty reasonable. You get to cheer for him and root for him and call it a day. After that, like, what? I mean, I'm not going to bet him, like, to win or top 5 more than, like, just like beer money or whatever.
What book had the par or not for the first hole?
Bet Rivers.
If you recall. All right, I'll have to check that out, because do you remember the line off the top here? I'm putting you on the spot. This is what happens, but I only asked because I don't remember off the top of my head. That first hole, I mean, like, historically, it's like a par 60 some percent of the time. So I'd be interested in what odds they give, because those are the kind of things you need to look for, and I'll be watching for too while the Masters has started. So this is why you need to be in the Discord, because things move quickly. And so if they're going to be throwing live gambling at us. And we took advantage of it very early on with Century Tournament of Champions. Most of the books then nuked a lot of that, unfortunately. I was looking at that the other day and I was like, wow, I wish they would do this again. Like they're just trying to get action, right? So it's the Masters. They're going to have eyes. They're going to be throwing out these live opportunities. So again, if you're not there, if you sign up at ftnbets.com, you can use promo code AXIS for 20%. I don't remember your code off the top of your head. Might be bogey free.
It is.
For 20%. And get in the Discord because that's where the alerts are going. I will be watching Thursday through Sunday for all of that. Hopefully we get some great live opportunities once again. But like things like that where they just throw it out there and it might be -115. But like if that's on hole and normally it's like par better or will they tie? Like you can get a lot of nice tie stuff on holes where the par percentage is 65% historically. And then depending on the weather, you can check. It might be even higher for that particular day as we get into the afternoon, things like that. They're not adjusting for that live. They're literally just throwing out a whole score and it's getting auto moved based on bets coming in. So like those are the things you can take advantage of. Like these par fives, birdie or better. Okay, if they offer that on certain ones, you probably don't want to do it. But there's a couple other opportunities, perhaps. I think number 8 maybe might be a decent one if they offer. It really depends on the line, right? But those are the things we need to look for. So yeah, that'll be going on in the Discord throughout the whole weekend. Hopefully, if we see something, it's never forced.
It was plus 120 for the not a par.
Ooh. I don't know if that's high enough for me, but do I really want to root for Tiger to make a bogey on number 1 and 2, Matt? What are you doing?
It could be a birdie. It's just par.
Okay. Not. It wasn't par better or
no. It was par or not. So yeah.
I still don't know if it's high enough for me, but that makes me feel a little better.
It was high enough for
root hard for that birdie
for a 6-pack, a 6-pack's worth of bets for me. Just for fun. They do have his round score over under as well right now, which they set at 73.5.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what the weather's like. Unfortunately, that's why Alex isn't with us either. He will be joining the Bogey Free podcast. Yes. He is down at Augusta, and unfortunately, the storms that rolled through today knocked out all the power at his Airbnb. So we'll catch up with him next week for sure. But he has been firing off his takes and input in the Discord, so that is very helpful. But yeah, I'll have to check the weather for some of these like more props. I will be running more. There's no sense in me running some of that Tuesday night. So it could be a Wednesday night project. So
yeah. So make sure that you hop in to the Discord via one of the promo codes. Doesn't matter. Access Bogey Free. Whichever promo code you see floating around, you can hop in and join us for this week. And obviously, depending on how long you stick with us, you could potentially double dip. Get the first couple of majors, pay for a couple months, and hang out and see the value that the Discord adds. Because I feel like we beat a dead horse with this, but like it really is just a great like little group, little crew that we have in there. That's adding value and having fun along with us. And then obviously you get our sort of expanded thoughts. Like we're always, we write the content, we put out the articles, but we're talking through other alternatives with all the subscribers all the time in the Discord. So I would definitely suggest checking that out if you're interested in that. But other than that, man, I think we're just about set here. I think we're ready to just roll into the rest of the week, and hopefully we can chat up a winner or something. Maybe somebody that we overlapped on this week.
Yeah, I would not mind cashing that 75 to 1. It's one of the bigger ones for the year, so that would be a swell one to hit. And boy, I honestly would love to hear what Terrell Hatton has to say after winning the Masters.
Yeah, that's definitely must see TV. All right, well, thanks again. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Jones CFR. You can find Axis over at Axis_DFS. good luck this weekend, and we will talk soon. See ya.